Am I the asshole for refusing to pay a neighborhood kid for cutting my lawn when I didn't ask him to? I, 29M, recently bought my first house. I'm settling in and like the neighborhood, and a few neighbors even came by to say hello. They included a woman, 43F, and her 13-year-old son. Not long after, I was on my couch one afternoon and saw the son outside, mowing my front lawn. I was confused, since I'd never asked him to and he'd never offered. I went out and politely asked him why he was doing it. He said he did it for lots of neighbors, and quickly added they give him $5 for it. I found it really weird, so thanked him for the partial work he'd done, before explaining that since I hadn't asked or wanted him to do it, I wasn't going to be paying him. He said okay, and quietly left my lawn. I figured that might be the end of it, just a kid trying to make some money, resolved with no harm done, end of story. But the next day his mom arrived on my doorstep and angrily asked me why I hadn't paid her son. I basically repeated what I'd said to her son, but she wouldn't accept it. She just kept saying that it was a kind gesture, and that he does it for all the other neighbors. She also said $5 isn't a lot of money and I could have just gave it to him. I kept trying to explain that an agreement like that needs to be set up ahead of time, otherwise it's nothing more than a random demand for money, but she basically tuned me out and ended up walking away as I was talking. I was amazed the adult in the situation was handling it worse than the literal child was. I'm wondering how much longer this will go on for. That was last week. Every time I've seen her since, she's stared daggers at me or made a show of crossing the street to avoid me. I'm not instigating anything further. I really have no desire to speak to her, but I'm thinking she might try to send her poor kid back to collect the money, or even mow the lawn again. I've vented about this to family and friends, and while most seemed to agree with me, some said I should have been grateful and paid the boy, and just told them from then on not to mow the lawn. I can't tell if I've been an ass here, or if my reaction to the whole thing was entirely justified. Not the asshole. I kinda feel bad for that kid, because it sounds like his mom is teaching him that he can get stuff for completely unsolicited help. Asking for money for services that weren't requested, after the fact, is not a kind gesture. It's a trap. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. There needs to be communication before the kid does this sort of thing. And you stopped him once you noticed what was happening. You didn't wait for him to finish and then question him. You weren't trying to get free work. What did the neighbors say, think? Maybe try to talk with them and get their input. They've been there longer. They all may be fed up with that family, also. She just kept saying that it was a kind gesture. A kind gesture normally doesn't come with a request for money. Not the asshole. Not the asshole, but honestly I'd have been ecstatic at someone mowing my lawn for $5. Not the asshole. I totally get where you're coming from. It's super weird for a kid to just mow your lawn without you asking. Like, I wouldn't want someone doing work for me and expecting money either. It's nice that he wants to help out neighbors, but that should definitely be something you discuss first. It's not like you hired him, so why should you pay? The mom seems to be overreacting a bit, and honestly, she should be teaching her kid how to ask for permission first. You did the right thing by standing your ground. If she sends him back, just stick to your guns. You're not being rude, you're just setting boundaries. Good luck with the neighbor drama. Am I the asshole for not helping my mom raise my sister's child when she could be taken into foster care? My sister died last year. We were estranged and I had nothing to do with her in the final years of her life because her child, who is now 4 years old and might even be 5 now, was the result of an affair between my sister and my now ex-husband, but he was my husband at the time. I told my sister once she did that to me she was dead to me and I would never forgive her or want to see her again. I never forgave her and still don't. I have zero regrets now that she's gone either. I never met her child. I have no interest in being a part of their life even now. Which means I don't see my mom as much now because she has custody of my sister's child. My ex isn't in the picture and he is supposed to be paying child support but evades it currently. My mom is struggling. She's not in the best shape after years of physical issues. Money is getting tighter between one thing and another. She has asked me for help several times. Her fear is the child will be taken into foster care if she can no longer cope doing it alone. But I refuse to offer any help. I told my mom I love her, but I can't be selfless enough to want to help the child. I told her I can't even imagine stepping up given what their birth symbolizes to me. I told her I know that's hard for her to hear, but a part of me will always hate her parents. There will always be a level of disgust I feel toward both my sister, even now she's dead, and my ex for fucking around on me and making a kid together. I have a problem that leads to infertility too. It was an especially big betrayal for me. And I could never be fair or look beyond that to love the child in question. It wouldn't be fair to them. And yes, I had therapy and I'm still in therapy. I have done a lot of work on myself where I could move forward. But some things will never be moving forward with me. Like the idea of forgiving them or wanting their child in my life. My mom can't understand. She can't really understand me not forgiving my sister now that she's dead at the very least. But she can't understand me not wanting anything to do with her child. My mom said she would have loved nieces and nephews. She's also angry that I would rather see her grandchild go than help. She can't understand how I could live with myself or how I could tell her I'd sleep better with that than having them in my life. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. It's an awful situation. Your sister and ex-husband betrayed you and there was a child as a result. It would not be healthy for you or the child for you to raise her with all the negative feelings you are still working through. You are doing the best thing both for you and the child by staying out of it. If your mother wants to be upset at someone, it should be the man who betrayed her daughter and abandoned her grandbaby. That's the asshole here. Not the asshole. Sorry to say, but it sounds like you have too much emotional baggage over this kid's conception to offer a loving home to your nibbling. I hope the therapy continues to help, but I don't think it would be emotionally healthy for either you or the child to enter into a parent-child relationship. Given your estrangement, I don't expect you to know the answer to this question, but it might be worth putting to your mom. Did your sister have friends who would be willing and able to help? Are the people already in your nibbling's life who would be willing to enter into a private fostering adoption arrangement and permit grandmother continued access? Not the asshole. That child has a parent who is alive and well. If your mom can't cope, she needs to get the authorities involved and get that child's father to take his child. Her making your sister and her child more important than you and the betrayal that led to that child's birth is enough reason to stay away and maintain your boundaries. She picked a side and bet on a losing horse. Not your monkey, not your circus. I'm not going to vote on this, because I truly believe you're in an impossible situation, and if you're in therapy, you're clearly trying to work on feeling some sense of closure. What I will say, is that despite how anyone else might make you feel or what they might say, you're not a bad person, op. You were betrayed in a truly horrific way, and you know better than anyone what you're capable of right now. Whilst it is horrible that this child has to go through this, it is not your responsibility to fix it. Not the asshole. No one can force you to love or care for that child. If anyone should step up, it's the kid's father, not you. Hell no. Absolutely not. Not the asshole. Am I the asshole for taking my girlfriend home from the hospital? I, 19M, have been house sitting for the week, and one of my rules was not to have my girlfriend, 21F, over to the house. She currently lives in a shelter. Last night, she was feeling very ill and ended up blacking out on the floor of the shelter. She was rushed to the emergency room via ambulance, and I'm the only contact for her since she has no family or friends. I showed up last night around 11 p.m., and she was discharged from the hospital around 5 a.m. after concluding she didn't need an overnight stay at the hospital. Her shelter doesn't allow anyone to enter under any circumstances after 7 p.m. nor allow anyone to enter before 8 a.m., so I opted to take her to the house where I could make sure she was getting proper care and treatment after a long night of sitting in a busy emergency room. This morning I was met with extremely angry parents who disregarded the lack of normal circumstances and frowned upon my choices. Of course, under normal circumstances I would have followed the rules. Am I the asshole for breaking those rules under an unforeseen emergency? Edit. I'm house sitting for a relative unpaid. I assume I made the wrong wording choice since that's largely seen as an occupancy. My bad. Regarding why she isn't allowed here, isn't due to her being unliked or having done something wrong. It's a simple their house, their rules. I do not have my own place as I stay with my parents while I'm in college. She's currently living in a shelter due to a lack of financial resources from running away from a very, very rough situation back home and is looking to change her life for the better. Edit 2. Thank you for all the responses. I agree with mostly everyone. I believe that the situation is very dependent on what you believe and what experience you have. I have apologized to my relative and all is well. I made the decision on a limb after being awake for a substantial amount of time, but I agree with others who allowed me to realize my other options within reason. Nah, you did your best under difficult circumstances. That said, I don't think your parents or the homeowners are wrong for thinking, hey, you had one rule and you couldn't keep it? Your GF's life sounds pretty dramatic and 100% dependent on you to pick up the pieces when emergencies happen. I'm not sure that's a fair position for a 19-year-old to be in. WTF is wrong with all of you? It was a goddamn emergency situation and she needed to rest. Anyone who values rules over understanding that is a bad person. I mean the actual audacity to say, you should have gone to a 24-hour restaurant, after just getting out of the hospital? Yeah, I know I want to go sit in a shitty booth for 3 hours after an ordeal like that. Sounds very good for recovery, And of course the complete lack of empathy for the homeless that I expect from Reddit. This site ruins my faith in humanity a little more every day. I think maybe you should have called them and told them about the situation and asked, and if they didn't make the exception, take her to your own house. Not the asshole. You made a conscientious and caring decision in an emergency situation. You have nothing to feel guilty about. Not the asshole. Normally it's a huge no-no to blatantly disobey someone else's house rules, but I'm just not sure what else Op was supposed to do with his ill girlfriend who had just been in the ER. Someone with more life experience or resources may have gotten a hotel room, called a friend, but I agree with him that the exigent circumstances merited breaking the rules and helping a human being who had nowhere else to turn. Was he supposed to have her sleep in the car? People need to have a tiny bit of empathy. Not the asshole. Man, y'all out here in the comments are assholes. It was an emergency, and it's not like she was there for that long or had caused any issues. Am I the asshole for making my son's birthday take precedence over my partner's family gathering? I, 37M, have a 6-year-old son whose birthday is next week. I have been planning his small birthday party and invited a few close friends and family. It means so much to him, and I just want to make it special since he's still at that age where birthdays are magical. My partner, 35M, comes from a big family, and his family is planning an event on the exact date of my son's birthday. He claims we have to go because his family always make it a point to get together during occasions. I kind of get that, but somehow, this is my son's birthday, and it should be more important than them, especially since he's excited. I suggested we could attend his family gathering later in the day after the birthday party. But instead, he's irritated and thinks that I am putting my son's interest before his family, which feels kind of stupid. He says it's not fair on his family, and that such a miss may result in hurt feelings. I've tried to tell him that we could celebrate with his family another day, but he claims this is important to him and that I am selfish since I am not putting his feelings into consideration. Now he's threatening to go alone, which means not making it to my son's party. I want my son's birthday to be memorable, and it happens only once a year. Am I the asshole for insisting we need to prioritize my son's birthday over his family gathering? He thinks I am putting my son's interest before his family. Tell him that's exactly what you are doing. It's what you should be doing. SND will always do. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Sorry, but this is an immediate breakup situation. Your partner wants you to skip a child's birthday because his family is having a gathering. That is insane. And to be clear, I am not someone who makes a big fuss about birthdays. Have your son's party, make it memorable. Your partner can be upset and go to their family's party alone if they want. Your party was planned first and you suggested a reasonable compromise, heading to see his family afterwards. That was you taking his feelings into consideration by offering to go to both. Celebrate your son's b-day with your family and your son's friends. Don't push him to come to your son's birthday party. He wouldn't be happy and you wouldn't either. It'll bring the mood down. He can attend his family's party alone, or if you and your son would like, you can head over after the birthday party. Not the asshole. Partner wants you to ignore your family and put his family first? Ew. Not the asshole, but ask your partner why your family is less important than his. Because that is what your partner is saying. Not the asshole, but your partner most definitely is. Go ahead and have the birthday party, it happens once a year. Partner's family could shift their gathering to a different date but clearly don't want to. Partner is right in that someone's feelings are going to be hurt, and right now that is you, because he wants to be with you but not make you a priority, nor does he wish to compromise. It sounds like you need a new husband, as this one has no interest in being a father to your son. You are the asshole if you subject your son to someone that doesn't view him as family. Notice how your husband feels that his family should come first. Why is your son not family to him? Otherwise, NTA, and celebrate your son.